Welcome to another episode of Dad Up, everyone. Thank you guys very much for joining me. I am excited for this episode because I have one of my good friends on the show with his lovely wife, and I'm excited to chat with them about their parenting journey and the things that they've been up to lately. But my good friend Dan and Ildiko are on the show. Welcome to the show.
Hi, we're so excited to be here.
Hey, Bryan, thanks for having us on, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited because Dan and I have kind of been running in the social media circle, been friends for quite a while now, a couple of years. I've got to say that for those of you that haven't listened to some of my older episodes, I used to do only audio up until about episode 100 when I started going to video too. But Dan was on my show when I was only doing audio, and he was I had to look it up this morning because I couldn't remember. He was episode 40 of the Dad Up podcast on the audio version. And that was July of 2020, Dan.
What a privilege. What a privilege. I know.
Amazing.
We're all
Over
locked down
3
in
years.
COVID at that time, I think.
Yeah.
Love it. That's wonderful.
Yeah. Over 3 years. Crazy, crazy, crazy. But I can remember, it's funny, I have the studio now, but I can remember doing my audio, and sometimes there were points where I had to, because it was only audio. So I was doing it from my phone and recording, but I was doing it from my car.
Oh, really?
So I had the little mic thing, and I was doing it from my car. And I think I was in my car when I recorded the episode with you.
Oh, really?
So
Well, the
cool.
car's a great place because
Yeah,
it's like
I
a
love
little studio.
Yeah, it's
'cause
quiet.
It's quiet. It keeps the sound out. It's meant for that. So I think a car's a great place to. And I know like guys like Russell Brunson, his podcast got huge from doing car podcasts. And I know there's a lot of guys out there who got
Social
started on car
media. The
podcasts.
car is the place where things go viral, believe
Yeah.
it or not, for social media, all platforms.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. I was thinking about that, but then, I got a bunch of my buddies that had the video podcast. They're like, Bryan, you got to go video. I don't know what you're doing with audio. You need to go video, video, video. And I was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then finally I got talked into it. So episode 100 is when I started. And then it was about episode 150 when I got the studio up. So I was doing it from my
Beautiful.
dining room table for a while.
Yeah, we're the
We've
same
been
way.
there.
We've been in different studios, and now we're in a different studio. We actually are trying to build this at our home in Utah, this other studio. We're back and forth between LA and Vancouver and here.
Oh, that's cool.
We have
Yeah,
a
you
studio
guys,
in Vancouver.
you guys still have a place in LA?
Yeah, we have a place in
Uh,
LA
well, you guys
and
gonna have to
Vancouver.
tell me when you guys are back out here so we can
Yeah,
grab a meal together. I gotta grab a meal with you guys because I live right here. I don't know why we haven't done that yet. So,
yeah. I think you mentioned that I'm coming out there next week, I think.
how are you?
And yeah,
Speaking
for a
engagement
speaking
and
engagement.
Daniel speaking.
Yeah,
Good. Oh, that's in
Brea.
Brea.
Yeah,
Yeah, right around the corner. That's literally right around the corner for me. So,
that's
that's
great.
cool.
We'll have to meet up.
Yeah, absolutely. What made you guys decide to pick Utah?
Well, we were coming out here. We had some work to do out here, so and it was so nice out here. My brother has a place out here. We just really enjoy. I grew up Mormon, so we'd been out here a few times back and forth, and I just heard that the people. I told my brother I'll never move to Utah, but we got out here and stayed out here for a little bit, and we really liked it. So we're kind of just back and forth, enjoying a little bit of time out here. Great people. The weather's a little bit, but it's a great place to be, a great place to raise kids. So we're still figuring things out. We're not sure if we're going to get a place out here, but we're definitely looking at it.
We are in Vancouver though, primarily.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
Vancouver's. We love
we're
Vancouver.
always on the go.
Yeah, Vancouver's probably one of our favorite places in the world.
I have never been. I've got to go. I guess I
Oh
gotta
my
Yes.
gosh, look it up in some pictures. Just type in Vancouver, Canada, and the pictures will blow you away because there's not many places in the world where you can see like a skyline of almost like Manhattan, like a skyline of buildings, but you have mountains in the background and ocean surrounding it. It's like you can't even explain it until you
It's
till you
stunning.
see a picture of it.
Hmm. That's cool. Really cool. What part of Utah are you guys?
We're a little bit south of Salt Lake, up in Park City.
Yeah,
Okay. All right, cool. I've been to St. George. I've been to Salt Lake. St. George is really nice, even though it's down in the bottom kind of corner there. It's a little small area, small town. But I've always loved Utah. Whenever we've gone back there, gone through there, driven through there, it's always been a nice area to go to. So that's awesome. Cool. Ildiko, I want to ask you because you have not been on my show, and Dan, I know his backstory. And for those of you that want to know more about Dan, you can listen to the first episode, but he's one of the co-founders of TapOut. He's got a bunch of things going. He's a huge businessman, and you probably don't know a whole lot about Ildiko, so I want her to kind of give a quick background or backstory on you.
Okay. Well, I grew up in Vancouver, British Columbia, but I was a first generation.
She's Canadian. Don't hold it against her there.
Well, I would say I'm more European. My first language was Hungarian, and I was brought up in a very strong Hungarian home. And my mom was a first-time immigrant to Canada. So she had a great relationship with my dad, and sadly things fell apart, and I think we'll get into it later, but that's why we're so passionate about our podcast and what our mission is right now in life. These things happen, but I feel that it gave me the knowledge of what I'm fighting for today. My mom had to be a single mom. She ran businesses, and that's what sparked my interest in business. I started a business at 13 years old, a brick and mortar business.
Wow.
And she let me have that creativity to find out, is that what I wanted to do? I was working with her. We had to go to work. We'd go to school, and then we'd have to go to her business after, because we couldn't afford babysitters, but we would have to go do the duties in the business, kind of like the Gary Vee story. Mm-hmm. Those immigrants that had a business.
A jewelry store.
She had a jewelry store, but at 13, her health was really failing, and it was failing quickly. She ended up living a really long life, but it got her thinking. In Europe, you were an apprentice at 13 years old, and she wanted to know, what do you want to do? What is your passion? She didn't want me to fall into the system if something, God forbid, was to happen to her. So we opened up this store, and I'm going to try to summarize it really quickly. I decided I didn't want to do that anymore, and I wanted to get into modeling and acting, and that went really well. But again, the bug bit me, and I founded an architectural concrete company. And I think the interest with that came because my mom and I were also flipping homes. So she had her businesses, we were flipping homes. So this was something that I enjoyed too. And I enjoyed so many different things. And we built that architectural concrete company. So it was so successful, and that's not easy to do. So I'm really proud of that, being a woman in a man's world, starting from residential and going to civil and civil jobs, and beautiful celebrity homes, hockey players. I can't really put out all the names, but it went so well, but I felt kind of empty still. Like I was always searching for something. Was it the acting? Was it the modeling? So my heart wasn't, kind of like Dan. You would think you're happy, right? When you've reached ultimate success and you've got money where you're comfortable doing, able to do whatever you want to do, basically.
Right.
But, I met Dan, and we were both kind of searching for that thing that made our heart beat. And maybe that's even the wrong, because now that I'm doing more reading with the Bible, it's not really the thing that makes your heart beat. And I was always indulging in the things that made my heart beat. Okay, I want to prove myself as a woman in a man's world. I want to do the acting. I want to do the modeling. I got to the top. I'm on magazine covers. I'm working with Matthew McConaughey, all these different celebrities. I should be happy. Why do I feel empty after these roles? And then fast forward a bit. Thank God we got pregnant. For years I couldn't get pregnant. And I don't
tell them how about you were chasing me around on Twitter.
That's such
and followed me around trying to get my digits.
That's a lot.
Trying to get my digits.
Stop. You have sons, and I don't even know why. It's like this.
That's how I remember it.
No.
That's how I remember
he was
Bryan.
stalking me for the longest time. And I finally agreed when I was at the World of Concrete. He was doing TapOut or UFC. I am still kind of new to that world. And we agreed to meet. And when we got together, I was like, this isn't gonna work. I have no tattoos. He's got tattoos all over the place. He looks like this gangster. This isn't
I was
work.
all over the place.
So
too.
we had a great conversation. And I think with his past, he came from kind of a gang neighborhood. So he had a hard life, but he just had this spark within him. And I had a hard life. I lost my brother. We had been struggling. I lost my dad, all this stuff. But what I loved is that for myself, I don't want to be that person that feels sorry for myself. That's not going to get you anywhere in life. And I remember a couple times I felt sad or sorry for myself. And my mom would be like, stand up straight, chin up, tall, strong. We are Hungarian. Your name is Ildiko. You are fierce. She named me Ildiko. Like the words that you say over your children, like choose good names that mean something. Ildiko means a fierce warrior princess. So she would always like remind me of who I am. If ever I tried to feel sorry for myself or, oh, but I don't have a dad, or my brother, I miss David. And that was hard for us. But we had to pull up our boots and be strong and do this together as two women, run the businesses and just go and do whatever we want in life. And thank God I had a great mom that supported me in whatever I did. But there was also, if you decide to do this, you have to do well. And there was that commonality between Dan and I where he could have felt sorry for himself and he could have really gone nowhere in life. He could have got caught on drugs. He could have, felt sorry for himself that he had all these circumstances that he did, but he didn't. He went out and he created something great. Like myself, I felt I created great things, but then the conversation led to, we're still searching for something. And I feel that God really blessed us when we had our first child, the surprise baby, Daniel. And I was always praying, always hoping. But when we had Daniel, we really had the talk, like, whatever we do, I had a swimwear line at the time, and it was very successful. It was the infant stages of social media. I could get any model that had millions and millions of followers, but I'm about to have a son. Is that where I want his mindset to be? Beautiful. Go watch that over there.
See, I told you. I promised you this would happen.
But let me take a snapshot,
so,
and then we'll talk about that later.
She's always been, when I first met her, the thing that totally me attracted to her is I saw that she was running a business, and I saw that she was beautiful, and she was doing these other things. She was way out of my league. But I think when I first met her, I just thought she was, you think you're going to meet somebody and they're just going to be, a connection. You start talking to them. And I expected a lot, but I didn't expect a lot. And when we met, as soon as I met her, I was like, we have to meet tomorrow. Can we talk tomorrow? Can we see each other tomorrow? And
so you did stalk her.
I did. I was stalking her from the beginning. Yeah.
You say yourself.
It was just one of those things that I was looking for somebody who I had something in common with, somebody I could speak. I didn't want to talk down to my girlfriend. I wanted to have these commonalities, like she said, these things that we had in common about wanting to build something for a family. And I was kind of looking, I was at that age where I was kind of looking, I hadn't been married. I wanted to be married. And I wanted to have kids that were, I wanted to have kids together. And it was just that time of my life. And when I saw her, the second I met her, I said, this is the person I want to be with. I didn't know how. I didn't know. I mean, we lived in different countries. You know, you think about like long distance relationships. I didn't know how that was going to work, but I was ready to move in and get married right now. Like, let's do this right now. Let's get married. And she wanted nothing to do with me. She was like, she pushed me off for like a year.
But we were best friends for a year. And I think that that's important.
We were good friends. We weren't like living by each other or anything. So we would talk a lot.
But we would lean into each other. I was going through stuff. You were going through stuff. And we would lean into each other. And when we finally did have a relationship, I feel that that whole time of being apart and building that friendship, I think that those were really important nuggets and things to bring into a relationship, because then when you're together,
we were good friends. But honestly, Bryan, the whole time I was like angling, you know, like I know like this girl's gonna be my wife, like we're gonna figure this out. And she just kept calling us friends. She would like make that point like, oh yeah, we're friends. And I'd be like, okay, whatever you say. But as soon as we can get, you know, can you come down this weekend, or, you know, can we go to UFC or something? I just wanted to be around her because she had this energy that you couldn't really explain. And it's almost like you have to be around her to know exactly what that is.
But we knew also that we wanted to build something. And I was saying about the swimwear line, everything was going, and it was the modeling and the traveling, and it was fun, right? We went all over the world, and we had people in Monaco, princes, interested in having the swimwear line in their.
I was like, yeah, okay, let's do a swimwear line and let's get married.
But listen, what was important? I don't want my son. There's a life where the women that I was around, it was an easy life, and they could have an easy life. They could hook up with a prince. They could hook up with someone from Dubai. It was very easy. Not the right word. Marry, or it just was a different mindset than I had and was brought up in. And I didn't want my son around that. I wanted him to have values and just not think everything
honestly, Bryan, her mom, like some of the things that, like I had a great upbringing. Yeah. Like my parents are, you know, they're still married today. Really, we're a close-knit family. We talk almost every day. I talk to my brother or my parents almost every day. And I think she liked that about my family. Mm-hmm. What I liked about her family was that she grew up in her mom's jewelry store. Mm-hmm. She grew up learning every part of the business, being in every meeting that her mom had, being her mom talking to her like an adult and explaining to her, you know, how the business ran and what they needed to do. And had her dealing with customers when they came in. And I saw so much, and she saw a lot in that. And we just saw like, that's how, when we have kids, that's how I want to raise our kids. I want our kids to see everything that we do, so that they understand, because you're not going to learn this in school. Mm-hmm. You're not, our kids are not going to go to school to learn how to network with people or have conversations about business with people. And it's so, you see so much these kids that, like, you know,
entitlement. All of our friends had Lamborghinis, yachts, all that. I didn't want him to see that stuff. There was a baby in my belly. I was still shooting. I just didn't want him to think everything was easy, because that's a trap. It's a trap. Let's be honest. So I said, I'm going to stop this. I'm done. He's like, you're about to blow up even more. Are you serious? You're doing so well. I said, I don't feel right about it. Let's not do it. So we started Billionaires, which was something that I said he can learn about history. And we have these collectible pieces. And I'm already
buying and selling historical documents.
I'm speaking
like $100,000 documents
into my belly in prayer over him. And I just saw something different. And that's what we decided to do, just pull back. And that's exactly the discussion. I want him to be involved in work. I want him to know, I'm not going to buy him a car when he's 16. He's going to earn that. And Dan's like, no, he's going to earn it. And I feel very strong about these things, because if something were to happen to us, you can go through money so quickly if you're not educated and you don't know the language of how to make it and how to keep it. So for me, that was really important. And Dan saw the value in that too. So we started Billionaires, and then
well, I think during COVID is kind of like during your time, we just had, she had gone through some medical stuff that she was
don't
dealing
like
with.
to talk about it because it's terrifying. Listen, you got a brand new baby,
Mm-hmm.
and just a few months ago, you've got this miracle in your belly. I've got my first baby that when he was 2, he said, I want a baby sister for my birthday. I could barely have Daniel. How am I going to have another baby? So I had to kind of prepare him. He said, no, God's going to deliver. I'm just going to pray every night. Believe it or not, his birthday's in April. By his birthday, I gave him the pregnancy stick, saying that I was positive.
That's so awesome.
So everything was going so well, so incredible. But little did I know, while I'm growing this miracle inside of me, I'm also growing something that could potentially kill someone and kills a lot of people. It's the C word. We don't say the word in our house because why? Right. Speak life, right? Speak life, the power of words. And that's what we always said with Daniel. And I had this little 2.5-year-old speaking words of life over this baby. And then when the doctor said what they said, I just didn't accept it. He was crying. I was looking at him like he was insane. And I said, I can't have that. I've got a baby in the car. I've got a brand new baby and my husband. Like, he can't take care of this stuff. I have to be here. Don't tell me what stage it is. And, I thought, oh, well, if he thinks it's what is it?
Well, what happened
3
was,
or a
honestly,
4. I'm like, oh, well, there's a scale of 10. I've never had to worry about this word. If there's a scale of 1 to 10, there is no scale of 1 to 10. There is no skill, but I was just so naive and just in such denial. And I think maybe that helped me because I can't be on chemo. I have to breastfeed this baby or she's going to die because she will not take a bottle. This is all I cared about every meeting that I went into with the doctor. I have to breastfeed this baby. I have to nurse her because she will die. And they're looking at me, this girl's crazy. That could happen to her. She doesn't. But I just left it in God's hand, and I did every type of research and just threw everything at the wall that I could. And it led us to our journey because while we were fighting this monster, we had these 2 beautiful babies and everybody's seeing the beautiful pictures and how are you guys so successful? How are you guys so happy? And I looked at Dan and I said, nobody knows it. We're fighting the hardest thing in our life and we are so happy and we have to share with the world and I didn't want to share our story, but I know that other people have these stories of the struggles and the juggles and the wins in their marriage. And all people ask them about is, how did you make that first million? It's always about the money and the success, but the true success, it's in the smaller things. It's in the recipe of how you overcame the monster that tried to kill your husband or your wife or your children, or the temptation, or maybe even the temptation went through. How did you overcome that? How did you get so strong that even though there was temptation, not us, but some guests, how strong were they? They don't get these questions. And the idea came up to Dan and I to share, to start this podcast. And I think, honestly, out of everything I've done in my life, it's the podcast that I love the most. I love it. I mean, you've been doing it for how many years?
3.5 years.
You must love it because you're helping people. And that's what I understand now. Like, I'm a servant of God. I'm helping people. I don't always feel comfortable telling my story yet because it's still scary. I mean, I have a sore throat today. Like, your mind can go on some crazy things, but you just have to put it in God's hands, pray, have your kids pray over you. But I love the podcast, and I feel like it's a business, but I wouldn't even care if we didn't have the sponsors or the money coming in from it. I really would do this for free.
I think at the end of the day, there's so many people out there, you have basically a 50-50 chance in the United States of getting a divorce.
Right.
And if we can tell people and let people understand that, hey, marriage isn't easy.
It's not supposed to
Raising
be easy.
kids isn't easy. It's not supposed to be easy. People expect that you go into things like, is starting a business easy? Starting a business isn't easy. And so we were like, how can we put all these pieces together and help people realize starting a business ain't easy. Raising kids isn't easy.
No.
Being a spouse isn't easy. None of this, creating a beautiful marriage isn't easy. None of that's easy. It takes a lot of work, every single one of them. So how do you do all of it? How do you, and can you? Is it possible? And we were seeing people that we're like, hey, we're not always, we don't wake up every day, happy. Sometimes we're not happy with each other. We're like
grump.
I could be grumpy, like I'm building this, I'm doing that. I'm on this phone call right now, and somebody's asking me to do something. I'm like, it's like it's not perfect. No. But if you learn how to work through those things and you have a fallback and a framework and I hate talking about like it's a business, but it is in some ways. You have to be prepared, just like you would in business, or just like you would for anything. Mm-hmm. You don't go, people have backup chutes. They have an understanding if they're playing, the flaps aren't going down. Mm-hmm. What do? You have to have things in place. Mm-hmm. So that everything works properly. And if you have those plans in place, things can be a lot easier than you think they could. I think too many people are just ready to throw in the towel once the relationship starts going sideways. And they feel like because we're not getting along,
maybe they made a wrong decision.
Yeah, maybe it's a wrong decision. Maybe it was the right decision, and you are just meant to you're meant to work through these things that are going to make you stronger as a couple, make you stronger as a parent, make you stronger as a business person. We know if you're running a business, I can't tell you how many times I was a police officer. I didn't know anything about business when I started TapOut. I didn't know anything about how to deal with, I knew how to deal with people. I didn't know how to deal with business and create those types of relationships in a network. I was used to throwing people on the ground and throwing handcuffs on them. And though I had a lot of conversations, but I think people need to understand that all of that stuff is not easy. And as you start to work through them, you get better at it. Mm-hmm. And as you start to have backstops in place, you get better at it. Just like a business, when you work through those things, you'll be a better businessman. I wouldn't be the businessman I am today if I hadn't worked through the thousands of fires that I had to deal with at TapOut and at some of my other businesses. And now at consulting for businesses. That's why I'm able to do that. It's the same thing with marriage. It's the same thing with raising kids. And you know this, Bryan. That's what your whole podcast is about, is how to deal with your children. It's not something that you learn day one. Nobody gives you a manual on how you're going to raise children. Here, this comes with your kids. They don't give you that at the hospital. They tell you, hey, it's honestly, it takes 6 months to be a police officer, 10 years to be a doctor. There's zero on going to be a parent. Mm-hmm. And nobody makes you go through any real marriage classes, to figure out how to be a good husband or a good wife. Mm-hmm. So it's like, if you don't lean into places like our podcasts or what you're doing or or books or other things that are out there or mentors, then, no wonder we have a 50-50 chance of having, a relationship that works out.
Yeah, I completely agree. And first of all, Ildiko, thank you very much for sharing your story. It's amazing. And, it's a testament to not only the woman you are today, but the mother you are and the wife you are because of the way you were raised and the way that your mom just instilled that power in you. So it's just remarkable. I agree with you. As far as being a parent or a spouse, yes, it is a battle. I mean, every day it's a battle, right? It's not an easy job. It can be easy. It can be, but it's not. And at the end of the day, it takes a village to raise kids, right? It takes a village to raise kids. And when it comes to our spouse, my wife and I, we've been together for 27 years. And it's one of the craziest things that I see about my wife and I is that we have so many friends that are divorced. We have so many friends that are divorced. And we knew each other. We knew that we did not want to go down that same road. And one of the things that we do, we're very good about is we have, and I've talked about it many, many times on my show, but we have a marriage coach and she's a licensed family therapist, but we go and see her every month for an hour and a half. And we sit and just talk. And we do that to make sure that we're keeping the watch tuned up, or the car tuned up. We're making sure we're doing that to keep our marriage tuned up. It's just part of what we need to do. We don't want to go down the road of, the what ifs if something goes wrong and we're butting heads. Look we don't get along all the time. My wife and I don't get along all the time. We butt heads, but through our coaching and stuff, we've learned how to navigate through challenges. And what's cool about that is our boys who are now adults, 24 and 22, they have seen this from us over time. And they see how a man treats a woman. They see how a woman should treat a man. They've seen it enough to know that, hey, that's the life that they're going to live. At least I hope when they do decide to get married. I just think that you two, it is remarkable the love, the relationship, the passion that you guys not only have for each other, but also in business, but taking it a step further in your kids. You guys are passionate and just love spending time with your kids, so much so that you guys are, like you talked about, incorporating them into learning about business and about life because school doesn't teach us those things. So I want you guys to talk about that because obviously we're going to get into the podcast and all that. But through your social media, sharing on social media, you guys do share about these examples of showing your kids what it's like to be in business. And your kids are young, but they're learning these at a young age. It's only imagine where they'll be when they're 15. Oh my goodness. Right. With all this knowledge that you guys are giving them. Yes. You're allowing them to be kids. You're still allowing them to be kids, but you're teaching them responsibility in business in a fun way. So let's talk about that a little bit because I think it's really cool that you guys are doing that.
Yeah, I think as I said earlier, that watching or knowing Ildiko's story about how she had worked with her mom, and I saw our kids doing that. I said, somehow we got to figure that out because we didn't really have a shop or anything like that where they could come into work.
But we were always going to meetings,
we were doing business meetings
calls.
And so we just said, hey, let's, most of the time, whenever we can, we want to bring our kids to these meetings. They're well behaved. They'll sit there and listen. They're not perfect either, but they will sit there. They're very well behaved and they'll listen to the meeting and then we'll talk about it afterwards and have these conversations about it. And Daniel, he's such a smart kid. We have him speaking, I'm sure you've seen some of his speaking stuff, and he's spoken in front of some fairly large audiences, 3,000 plus people. And he's actually doing a speaking contest tomorrow with Grant Cardone's people.
Yeah, that's cool.
And he's probably the only kid he's this 6-year-old and this surrounded by adults. And but he's gonna, we just wanted to put him in it. We don't expect that he's gonna win it or anything like that. We just want him to be doing it.
Right.
You learn by doing.
That's right.
And he's got his speech ready. He'll be practicing as soon as we get off here. We practice a speech with him, and he does quotes every day for his Instagram. And we just want him doing this type of stuff. He's writing a book right now. We're working with him. He's starting a business.
So how old is he now?
He's He just turned 7.
7. Wow. So writing a book, starting to run a business, doing speaking already. I mean, the kid's going to be, I think he's going to be off on his own by the time he's 10. He's going to be like, yeah, mom and dad,
Well, we
I'll
make
take
it
care of you
fun
guys.
for him. It's just making it fun. It's like, it's not going to be.
I don't want him to ever think that these things are hard or work, or I don't want him to take the easy way out, because there's joy. I remember, I mean, as a baby, my mom would bring me in the shop in the bassinet, but the older we got, then she would give us responsibilities. But it was never like, oh, I got to do this or that. We would have fun. We enjoyed each other's company. We were growing the company together. We would have, just like we have family meetings on what we could do better in the family, we have business meetings on what we could do for the podcast. We include them. And for the Billionaire Collectibles business, Daniel was included in those conversations as well. Hey, what do you like about it? What do you think we could do better? And some of those we could actually implement. It's interesting.
And it all kind of works together. Like, we were buying a Theodore Roosevelt piece. We were actually trying to buy this really expensive letter. He had an attempted assassination years ago, in like 1912, I think. And he had, when the guy shot him, Theodore Roosevelt, when the guy shot him, he had his speech in his pocket, and it hit his speech. It's what saved his life, almost like a bulletproof vest.
Oh, wow.
And those papers, his speech, were up for auction, and we were trying to buy them. They got out past us a little bit, but we're having these conversations with Daniel, and I don't remember if I introduced him to it or you did, but we were talking about the man in the arena speech.
Yeah.
And he just, the way we would kind of say it when we would tell him the speech, he started repeating it.
Right.
And so I was like, wow, he knows a lot of this speech just from hearing us say it to him. I've said it to him maybe 3 times. And what did you say it a couple times? Yeah. And he's already knows, like, a lot of this speech already. We should teach it to him.
He was always trying to memorize the quotes, or he would ask us about
stuff at that time.
Different entrepreneurs, and then I would tell him quotes.
So then when we started teaching him this, he just got really excited about it. And so it all kind of worked together.
Right.
And I think we just want him to have fun doing it. We want him, we keep telling him, look, when you're looking for a business, it can't always be fun. Mm-hmm. But how great is it when people have a business that really is fun to them, that they really enjoy? Mm-hmm. I mean, I know sometimes the things that are fun don't always make money, or it's a saturated market, but there are a lot of entrepreneurs who are doing. I feel like TapOut was fun for me. And I feel super blessed that I was able to start a company that yes, we were firemen and putting out fires constantly, but I was, it was in and around what I loved to do and what I loved watching and what I loved to be around at that time. And I felt like very fortunate that I was able to start a business around that. And that was a side hustle at the beginning, as a police officer. Mm-hmm. And we just want him to see things that you can be passionate about. Like, hey, you really like doing this speech. Would you like to memorize it? And he said, yeah, I want to memorize the whole thing. And so he started trying to memorize one line at a time. And pretty soon, I rarely find an entrepreneur that knows the whole man in the arena speech by heart. And he can spurt off the top of his head like it's nothing.
Or the ones that he likes by Rocky. And whatever he likes.
Yeah, whenever he likes the Rocky speech a lot. I don't know if you saw me post that a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. I think it's remarkable that you guys are teaching him valuable lessons, life lessons, business lessons, but you are making it fun. I think it's also cool that you're just kind of letting him discover it as well. I mean, he's like, hey, you asked them, you didn't say, hey, I need you to memorize this. I want you to memorize this. Mm-hmm. Do you want to memorize this? Yeah, I want to try. Okay, cool. And then let him try. I just think that's so cool. TapOut is just one of those brands that I think of when I think of TapOut, I think of like, it's almost like Nike, just do it kind of thing. Everybody knows TapOut. So it's like you kind of you're proud of the business you started and you're proud of where it's gone, but it's like, it's still going, Dan. It is like, people still know about it. Right.
Yeah.
I think that's remarkable. And the fact that you're teaching your son these lessons is just great. I just got, when you talked about TapOut, I mean, that's just first thing that came to mind. It's like, everybody knows about TapOut. I mean, who doesn't know about TapOut right now?
What's funny though, is that like my son doesn't know. He doesn't even, he's like, what, remember Dad, remember that TapOut thing? Like, what is that? He still asks me, he doesn't know what it is. So he truly doesn't really know. So it's always a little humbling when your kid doesn't know that, like what you're most famous for. People you'll walk into a store, we had a TV show and I was in Sprouts a little bit ago and somebody recognized, hey, you're the guy from, because he saw the TapOut on the back of my neck and he goes, oh, you're the guy from the TV show, right? And you started TapOut, didn't you? And so I'm trying to tell my son what it is, and he has zero clue, so he doesn't look at me like that. He just knows me as Dad.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I want to talk about your guys' challenges because everybody's got them. And you guys, the way that you guys are with each other is beautiful. But, social media doesn't show everything. Sometimes, there's a lot of things. I mean, I've gone through many struggles in my own personal life that, I didn't necessarily want to put on social media. And there were times where I was still putting stuff out on social media, but I was behind the scenes struggling with something, right? Whether it was mentally or physically, just those kind of things happen. I still have to post what I believe in, it being a great dad and being a great parent. So I'm going to still share that, even though I may be hurting in some way. But struggles are real. Struggles are real for any couple. How do you guys manage or deal with, whether it's with your kids or each other or business? How do you guys manage that? And then how does that trickle, I guess, or how does that kind of teach your kids? I mean, is it stuff that you've kind of gone through with your kids? So I want to know a little bit about that. Dealing with challenges.
I feel like we keep the door open. I don't mind that our kid, not that I don't mind, I encourage us having the conversation, because especially last year was really hard for us. Dan went, well, he
was consulting for a company, and it was taking a lot of my time.
A lot of his time.
They were having a lot of trouble.
And we weren't prepared for that. Wasn't really in the small print, but he was gone, not from like a 9 to 5, but like a 5, 6 a.m. to 9, 10 at
on
night
Sundays.
And most days. And it was getting really hard for me. I could see the kids starting to grow apart from him. And you saw that too.
Yeah.
And I know that he was just trying to do everything he can to make this successful. But at home, I could feel us growing apart too. And that was it was a
retail company, and it was that part of, it was Christmas was coming,
and it happened,
and it was just,
everyone.
I didn't feel good about, I was being torn, because you think about it, especially because I could have walked away at any time, but I didn't want to walk away from, I wanted to win. But I feel for people that are starting businesses, because
they go through
every
that.
Man, especially, and not that women don't think this way too, because they do, and they're protectors and they're great at what they do. But for men, we feel the burden of making sure that our family can eat and has food and has, a roof over their head. We feel that burden. And so they're struggling because they want their business to be successful, but they also love their kids and they want to spend time with their kids. And then sometimes, and then also they want to spend time with their wife. And sometimes those things don't all work out. It's like when people say work-life balance, there's no true work-life balance.
Correct.
There's times when your business is going to take more of your time. There's time when your kids are going to take more of your time. My brother was talking about, he's traveling all over for his daughter's just about to get accepted into college right now. And he's traveling around with her, for travel ball. And, she's trying to, she's going to all these showcases all over the country in Florida and Texas. And is like, man, he goes, I've never spent so much time on the road, never spent so much money doing this stuff. But that's that time for that right now.
Right.
And, there's time when your business is going to take you. And the problem is, what suffers a lot of the time is the thing that should be the strongest, which is your relationship. And sometimes we're both passionate people. So sometimes, we'll be like the passion will be flowing about,
but also
you think you're right. I think I'm right. And sometimes we just have to look at each other and go, look, either she'll say it or I'll say it. And this is our key word that kind of brings us down and grounded is that, hey, we're both on the same team. We're on the same team. Like if she's getting a little passionate on me, I say passionate, but we know what, if she's getting a little passionate on me, I'll be like, I'll say, look, we're on the same team. We're on the same team. Yeah. And then if I'm getting passionate, and she'll look at me and grab onto my hand and we grab hands and I'll be like, and she'll be like, we're on the same team. Yeah. We're on the same team. And it just grounds us. It's our way of kind of like bringing us back down to ground zero and go, okay.
I don't know if you know, or maybe you do, maybe you don't. I know, the last day when I felt like I was struggling with pains and stuff in my body. And I was just trying to be strong, be the good wife. I can't say quit this job because I could see him so hard trying to win it. But I was struggling silently and I just wasn't sure how long I could do it. And my kids and I, when he would be at work, we would pray. I would pray over my husband. And they would see that and they would pray for daddy. His daddy he had a lot on his plate. He was kind of grumpy guy when he would get home, grumpy with me, a little grumpier with the kids. And this impacts them in a way where they get mad at him. And I said, we just have to pray for him. He's going through a lot. I'm going through a lot. We're going through a lot. But we just have to, I think prayer helped us a lot. And I remember the very last day.
This is
is crazy.
Yeah,
because I was almost at the end and I'm like, this can't be leading to like the D word. Like this can't be the end of us. I just feel like he's going so hard, but I don't want to be the one to stop him. If that's what he needs to do, then maybe I just have to go back.
By the way, I didn't realize that it was at that level, but I did realize I didn't want that.
But I wasn't even really writing those
lines.
Right. But I was in bed that night with the kids and I said, God, just show me something big. If this isn't what is meant to be, can you just give me a sign? Because I'm feeling like, just like hit me over the head with a frying pan. Show me, I didn't say that, but I said, show me a sign, a concrete sign. And I was holding hands with the babies and just give me a sign, give me a concrete sign. If this is not what our life is supposed to be, Dan doing this 9 to 5, which is way over time, and me basically raising the kids on my own and just losing all of his freedom. Like, is this really what he worked so hard for? The next day after work, he came home early and he says, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. I hate it. And I was like, what the holy camole?
I was just over the edge. It's a startup, and in startups, you gotta, your time leans into that early stages of the company. And I felt like we're going to get past this at some point. We're going to get, and I'd been through that TapOut. It felt like, I didn't feel like doing that again at this part of my life. I didn't feel like doing that type of thing, but there was so much upside in this company that I thought that if we get past this hump, we're going to fix this. If we can fix this, this is going to be huge. And this will be huge for all of us, So, and I just wanted to have another win in my cap, have another W. And I
sometimes
just
you
got to
just
the point
need
where
to
I
know
just
when
said,
to
you know
walk
what, this
away.
one day I just said, it ain't worth it. It ain't worth it. I don't need to be doing this, and I
No,
don't
you
want to
don't.
be doing this. And so sometimes you have to check yourself and go, hey, are you doing what you, who is it that said, was it Steve Jobs or somebody said something very poignant. They said, if you wake up too many days in a row and you don't like what you're doing, you need to figure out something new.
Mm-hmm.
You need to reevaluate and figure out something new for yourself, because and that's what I was doing. I woke up too many days in a row going, I don't like what I'm doing, and I had to figure out something new.
And he finally said
So I
it.
came home and
I hate it. I was like, I knew it.
she started crying because she was like, I literally prayed to God this exact prayer last night.
But not telling him to do anything. Just show me what
didn't
is
want to tell me
you really had the
believe.
passion to support him.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what you felt your role was, is like, I'm
Yeah.
supposed to support him.
Right.
If I push against this, it's just going to cause more ripples in our relationship. I get that. I get that side of it. And then Dan, you're on the side of, listen, I'm trying to do everything I can do to take care of my family. That's what's important to me. So if I have to be gone 14, 16 hours a day to make it happen for my family, that's what I got to do. But here's the catch. Here's the catch. You both were wrong. You both were wrong. She was wrong in her approach in that. And I'm not saying this.
No, you were right.
I'm saying that, yes,
right.
as a couple, you have to have such a strong, trusting relationship that when you're hurting, you need to be able to lean into your partner, not away from your partner, right? And so leaning into them
different. Yeah.
and telling them, hey, I'm proud of how hard you're working, Dan. I'm proud of what you're trying to do for us, but I have to be honest, I'm hurting in this way, and I see the kids hurting in this way. And is there any way that we can kind of at least tweak it a bit to make it work for you and us as a family? Mm-hmm. And then, Dan, listen, I'm all about making your legacy happen, but I tell dads this all the time. Your legacy doesn't start outside the home. It starts in the home. And the second that you realize that, everything else is going to change around you, because what happens is if my home life is great, if my family and my structure of my home is solid, there's what I say is no cracks in the foundation, everything outside is going to be cool. But the second that something goes wrong, either in the family or in the business, guess what? It affects every other area in a negative way. And the last thing you'd want that to do is affect your family, Dan. You're super passionate about your kids and your wife. And you woke up that day. You said, no, God's tapped me on the head going, hey, look, knucklehead, you got something at home waiting for you. And that's what you're like, yeah, this is it. This is it. So I told you,
it was such a good lesson.
Yeah, I'm saying this in a good way. You both were wrong, but you both realized it and did the right thing to fix it. So kudos to you both. Sorry, you guys got me all.
It
was the most valuable lesson that we both understand that we could have learned, and have our children also learn with us and see that we could fix it.
I think I was reconciling it in my head because it was such a short period of time. It wasn't like this is years and years of this going on. But it was such a short period of time that I was reconciling in my head, like, this is a short time. We all have to make sacrifices. Yeah. There's things that sometimes, there's people in the Army who go off to war, and have to do a 6-month tour or whatever. It's like, this is my 6-month tour. I promise you, when I get past this moment, this is going to be huge for all of us. This is going to be a great moment for us. It's going to be a big W. And I really thought I could get it to that point, but
that wasn't the path.
Sometimes you have to realize too, when God isn't laying it out, it's like, hey, is he trying to take me in a different direction, or is he trying to tell me I'm doing the wrong thing totally? Mm-hmm. Like I'm just going down the wrong path altogether. And so I kept trying to fix the direction. I kept going, oh, maybe the direction, we got to fix the direction. And like, maybe it's this instead of that. Maybe I'm supposed to work harder. Maybe I'm supposed to. And then when I saw it affecting it, I think it just affected my family too many days in a row. And I said, no, I need to reevaluate here. And this is, I don't need to be here. Now at this point, I don't even want to be here. I don't want to be doing this anymore. So I was like, I'm willing to walk away. I didn't, I was lucky enough to be in a place where I didn't have to be there. Mm-hmm. but I feel this is why I think this is so important, is that, like you said earlier, is that you need a village, right? You need people to lean into. You have your counselor that you go to every month. I think every relationship who wants to be successful needs somebody that they can lean into
in a community,
so that they can have these conversations, because it's never going to be a perfect balance.
Mm-hmm.
It's always going to be work sometimes. I mean, especially in being in the retail space a lot, come Christmas, shoot, that's when you're supposed to have the best of times. But for a retail person, that's like their hardest time of the year. And, they're doing 12-hour days on, coming into Christmas. And so it's a really hard time during that time. And so you have to kind of like go, okay, how do I still create some balance for myself? It might not be a perfect balance, but how do I create some balance? And then how do I have this, cultivate my marriage? Because that's the stone, that's the grounded stone in the whole circle. If your relationship's not good, I promise you your business isn't going to be good.
Exactly.
If you're coming home at night and you guys are at each other's throats, it's going to carry over to the office.
And we have a different type of family where they were actually crying about the podcast, because they said, let's just put the podcast I don't know if it was you or me, but let's put the podcast on hold. And they took it to heart. And they wanted to do the podcast. And I know you wanted to do it. I wanted to do it because I feel called to, I feel that that's the calling, to help other people, to really give them the transparency of what goes on in relationships. So I feel that year was so valuable, where we got to truly experience because before we were dealing with health challenges, but this time we're dealing with exactly what he helps his community with. And we could really lean into that, because we were always so lucky that we built something where I love working, and I love working hard, but as I said, we were always looking for that thing to do together. And I think the kids felt very left out. You can't bring them into the office. And I felt like I want to build something with you too, but now there's no time for us to build anything at all, not even the podcast. So I'm so grateful for that lesson, and I'm grateful that we're back up and doing the podcast. That was the first thing he said too, and he said, let's do the podcast again. And I was like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? This is so crazy. And the kids are never happier.
He's tapping back into it.
Yeah.
And
I mean, we're doing consulting. He's doing consulting, but it's in a way where we can include the family. I have a deep understanding of social media and how to have things go viral, and advertising and building businesses. So I can help him with those aspects of what he's doing. And then the kids come, and these are all family built businesses. Even the BKFC, they have their family working together. So they really encourage us to have a strong relationship, and our kids. And it's just a different environment, not only the podcast, but the consulting that we're doing now. And I feel with everything that, it can't always rain forever. The sun's going to come out, and the doors can't always be closed. But sometimes, even if you're going down the wrong path, it'll lead you to something that you're supposed to be doing. And I feel like that's where we are right now. Not that everything's always perfect.
And I think this too, we haven't said this, Bryan, but we've been talking about this, and I'll just say it here because we haven't said it out loud yet. But I think we're going to start doing some coaching, just because that's what's fulfilling us.
Well, people,
like doing the podcast, you
yeah.
can't, sometimes you don't get the feedback. You don't get the back and forth, those conversations, and really changing people's lives. And I think I'm sure you know this and feel this when you're doing your coaching, is that having those conversations with people, really changing their life, helping them, whether it be in their business. I mean, we've done business consulting for years, but not just doing business consulting, but and not like we're marriage counselors, but understanding and listening and putting that framework in place to help marriages. I think it's not like, hey, I can't necessarily coach somebody, I don't have the time to sit there and go, or I won't be able to hear every piece of what's going on in their relationship. But one thing you can do is if you put framework in place that it tells you, if I'm doing this, then I should be doing that. And if I'm doing that, then I should be doing this. And if you put those things in place, and that's what we can help people with. And the same thing for raising children. I'm not going to tell you how to raise your kids, but I can tell you this is what's worked for us. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you that if you have some of this framework in place, that I believe it'll help your kids. Now, take from that what you will. Mm-hmm. But, it's helped us, and I can show you how it's helped us, and I can show you what it's doing for us, and I can show you what how our kids are, reacting to it. Mm-hmm. And then of course in business, that's kind of we're both, it's great that we both have different businesses, different business experience, both in, online businesses, brick and mortar businesses, mm-hmm. and it allows us to help people with their businesses too. So kind of a 360 life success that we can teach and work with people on. So we haven't really vetted through that too much, but we've been having a lot of conversations lately, and we've just pretty much decided that we're going to get into some coaching.
Yeah. Coaching would be great. I think he's taken it a step further. We need to do an event or something together. I mean, like a parenting event, some sort of parenting event, I think would be awesome for, you guys, me, maybe a couple other people that I know in the parenting space, but,
and just encouraging parents. And I mean, I don't know how you feel about this, but we would go to events mm-hmm. with our baby, and just something that's welcoming. If they want to bring the kids, let them sit there, let them try, just, your kids the best. Can mm-hmm. Can they handle an hour? Can they handle 2 hours? Can they handle 3 hours? Mm-hmm. It could be a safe environment for parents to see if they want to. They don't have to, but they are welcome to, because I know a lot of parents are nervous, and Dan and I we make up our own rules, and we set up our own box. We're bringing our kids, mm-hmm. like it or not, we're bringing our kids to the meeting. But then after the meeting, they're so excited that we have brought our children, but some people are so scared. And I remember I went to all my meetings, or my mother's meetings. I went to the diamond show. Every time she would buy stock, I learned so much, but I also understood I can't be climbing up the walls. I mean, with a Hungarian mother, oh my goodness, that wouldn't even be allowed. But I just remember learning so much, and it just taught me so much. And I see that in Daniel, and just giving other parents the courage, because when we talk to them, because they reach out to us and they're so scared to do it. Just start. It may be a nightmare,
and it may not work every time, but it's like,
if you want to,
find those times that it would.
Not everybody wants.
And if we had an event like that, of course, that'd be a great one.
It just mm-hmm. would be encouraged by the people because we were talking about events, and I said, wouldn't it be great if we could just give parents the courage to bring their children and just mm-hmm. get them used to it. I was talking to a huge director, and this is before I got pregnant, and he's huge in Hollywood. But he said, Ildiko, if you ever have kids, because he invited me over for dinner, and his daughters were so well behaved. And I said, like, how did you do it? I know how my mom did it, but how did you do it? He said, you don't let your kids train you. And I know the words are crazy, but he's very, he said, you train your kids. If you want them to listen to podcasts that you like or music that you like, you introduce that to them at a very young age. Introduce it to them while they're babies. Otherwise, it'll be harder later on in life. Not that it's not possible, but don't stop doing the things that you love and that you would love for them. So that they
in other words, have your kids
in that environment,
live around what you're doing more so. Not that you still don't have fun with them, they still don't take them to places that they love to do.
Right.
But I think so many parents get caught up in, my kids have to be happy all the time. They have to be doing this. We have to take them to the park.
But they were on set.
It's like
most grown actors don't know when to zip their mouth, but these little girls were so well behaved, and they're on set, and I was like, wow, this is so crazy. But anyway.
That's awesome. I have to ask you real quick about Pretty and Punk, because you guys are going full force again. Let's talk a little bit about it real quick, because I've taken a lot of your guys' time, and I don't want to keep you guys all day, but Let's talk a little bit about it. Purpose behind it. Obviously, you did share already kind of the purpose behind it, but let's talk a little bit more about it.
Yeah, I think it's really the podcast that we wanted to have. We wanted to find. We were out looking for a podcast. So where's the podcast where entrepreneurs are talking about how they balance their life through building a business, through raising kids, and through growing a marriage. And not necessarily, I mean, we understand that there's people out there that are, maybe just raising kids. It's for them too. It's like you may be separated and you have kids, and that's a struggle too. That's not easy. You're running a business, you're raising kids, you're separated. That's hard too. But we're speaking about a lot of our what we've gone through, and then we're interviewing people that are going through that same thing.
That are so nice to pull back the curtain and just really share their honest truth of what they've gone through and how they've gone through it. Because everybody's struggle is different, but I have not met one person that hasn't had a struggle. Everybody has a struggle, but they don't get to talk about it. And that's just the blessing to me, is connecting. And even if I haven't had the same struggle as someone else, I'll connect with them through their struggle and learn such valuable nuggets.
Exactly.
And that's
see, I told you. Another one. Yeah, so we're just excited to start the podcast again. We've been traveling, so it's been hard. We've been having to fluctuate, sometimes doing audio, sometimes doing videos. Video podcast. We have a studio out here and a studio in Vancouver. And so we've been kind of back and forth, but but we just want to make sure we're doing it every week, and we're not going to because we did at one point when we were traveling, we were kind of like, you know what, let's just put it on hold. This is just getting a little too hard. We were having to rent out rooms at hotels when we would do our podcast, get one of the rooms that they have there for meetings, and we'd rent it to do our podcast. We'd keep all of our mobile equipment with us. And it just it was such a hassle that I was kind of over it. And we didn't want it to not be fun. We wanted to still enjoy doing the podcast. And so it was, we kind of wish we wouldn't have put it on hold for a year, but nevertheless, we're back doing it again.
Do it anyway. That's the struggle. Do it anyway. Yeah.
Well, now you guys have a year of material that you could talk about.
That's right.
Yeah. So you got several episodes you can cover right there. I was
right now our producer is encouraging us, because a lot of our views, it's strange, I'm surprised, but a lot of our viewership or listenership or whatever it's called, it's when it's just Dan and I. So he's like, let's do a few more months of just you guys, and then Ildiko, you can have the guests back on.
Yeah, we'll start interviewing guests again.
You know why? It's because people want to hear real life, and you guys are the hosts of a show that's a great show, and they want to hear about you. I've heard the same thing from people that are, big on social media and have many things that have gone viral. They tell me the same thing. They say, Bryan, it's great that you're doing the parenting stuff and giving parenting tips, but they want to hear about you and your parenting stuff and your parenting struggles. And they want to hear the real life. And that's what I've noticed is a lot of my higher views have been on just me talking about me and the stuff that I'm going through. So that's why. So I think that's great. You guys have a year of freaking material.
Our producer says, "Oh, you guys are so good when you guys are together." We don't always think so. We get I think about every podcast we finish, we go, "Oh my gosh, that was a horrible one. You want to do it again?" I was like, "Let's do it again."
No, I'm like, we gotta find the blessing.
But we listen to it later, and we're like, "Oh yeah, it was pretty good." And then the producer's always like, "Wow, that one was great." We're like, "Really?" Yeah, that one's killing it right now. So that's how awesome. It is.
That's awesome.
Really are going back and forth and building something together. It's a fun.
Embarrassed. I know that sometimes maybe I stumble upon my words, but that's human, and people want to see that. It can't be perfect. It has to be pulling back
unedited, raw,
in everything. In everything.
Yeah.
That's
exactly
beautiful.
Right. I started my podcast for kind of the same reason you guys started yours. I wanted to be able to listen. We see a lot on social media with real successful people doing fabulous things. And I wanted to show my audience that, hey, you can have that success. You can have that dream life that you want to have as far as being successful, but you don't have to negate your family to do it. You can still have a successful family life as well. Exactly. And the people that I have on my show are people that are doing just that. It's like, I've had plenty of people that have asked to be in my show. And when I do a little bit of research and realize, okay, they're just wanting to promote something on their business, they're not really checked in as a parent, I turn them down. It's just the way it is. I want to have people on my show that, they're doing great in both areas to hopefully share a lesson with somebody out there. Exactly. Somebody out there that needs to hear even a similar story. And what you guys are doing is exactly why I do this show. So you guys are not a competitor. You guys are a friend.
No, we love
you guys are family. You guys are just awesome couple. I have to tell you, I love these two people. They are remarkable human beings. Their stuff that they put out on social media is one thing, but what I know about them and how long I've known them, they're just remarkable people, human beings, just super nice human beings, great to their kids, great business people. I just love you guys. I really do.
Oh, we love you too.
I am excited for the show to start back up again and get some meat and material out there for you guys again to really share your story and your life, especially over this last year. But I have to tell you, I am honored. We went long, and I'm glad we went long because we could continue talking for another couple hours easily.
We'll have you on our show.
Right. I love you guys, and I thank you guys for being on my show. Can you just drop a couple of nuggets as to where listeners can look you guys up, learn a little bit more about you guys?
Yeah, I mean, we're probably most responsive on at Pretty and Punk Podcast on Instagram, but we also have a TikTok, Pretty and Punk Podcast, and you can find us on Facebook too. And then of course YouTube, Pretty and Punk Podcast TV. And we're pretty responsive. We like to get back to people. We also, if anybody listens to our podcast on all the podcasts,
I hate your at link because there's probably kids listening, but mine's at Spicy Little Pepper because my mom gave me that nickname.
And mine's at TapOut Punkcast. It's my nickname, It was
that's funny that you guys say that because I was curious to know how yours came up, Ildiko.
Do you want to know the truth?
Yeah.
Okay, so when I was 3 years old, I was performing on stage and I was doing a Hungarian pillow dance. And I messed up on my steps. So the crowd started laughing because it was really cute. But I thought that they knew that I didn't know the dance that well. So I got really angry and I threw it out at the stage. And after the performance, my mom ran up and she said, "Why did you do that?" I said, "Because they laughed at me. They knew I made a mistake." And she said, "No, it was because you were so cute." And then the entire Hungarian community called me Csípős kis paprika, which means spicy little pepper. And that's how I had my nickname.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. Speaking of, I'll let you guys go, but speaking of Hungarian, I am right now working with or mentoring a freshman. He's now a freshman. I started mentoring him when he was in 7th grade, but he has his father passed away. And his mom, he's Hungarian, and his mom lives over there. And she didn't want him to come back home. She wanted him to stay in the States. So he doesn't have a very close relationship with his mom. He talks to her every once in a while, but doesn't have a very close relationship. But he lives with his Hungarian grandma, who is, older elderly lady, and she has a hard time taking care of him. So I've been mentoring him, taking him places, hanging out with him, because he needs kind of that father figure in his life. So that's you're saying that it just reminded me of him. His name's Martin, but he's just a great young man.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, if you ever need a Hungarian translator, I got one here.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, listen, guys, again, I love you guys. Thank you guys so much for being on. I'm sorry we went long, but I appreciate you both sticking around.
It was a great time.
And
Thank you.
we will definitely, I mean, we're going to have to do this again because we could talk forever.
Yeah, we'll have you on our show.
Well, let's do
God
it.
bless and keep doing what you're doing.
You as well. You as well. Guys, this has been another fantastic episode of Dad Up. Again, I want to thank Ildiko and Dan for being on the show. Two very close friends of mine that I really appreciate and love for all that they represent and all that they do. Guys, make sure you're checking out Pretty and Punk Podcast, everything that they're doing on their social media, whether it's Instagram or YouTube. Make sure you guys are subscribing to their shows. And as always, if you're not subscribed to my show yet, please make sure you do that so you don't miss any of the awesome guests I have on each and every week. And I look forward to seeing you all on the next episode of Dad Up. Wow, another amazing episode in the books. So much was shared, and I'm truly grateful my guest was able to pour into you to help you elevate your dad game and really dad up. Make sure you bang that subscribe button so you don't miss a single episode. And while you're here, please don't forget to leave me a rating and a review. I always appreciate the feedback. And one last thing, don't forget, your role as a dad is one of the most important roles you have. So if you need a little help or have questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me on my website at daduptribe.com or at my Instagram page at daduppodcast. Until next time, everyone, Dad Up.